Sorry. So it's glad that we managed to invite Alistair here today. He's the assistant professor for our faculty mathematical and also the computer science, and he will be giving a talk regarding actual science to the students here today. So I will be the translator later on if anyone would like to ask any questions during the Q&A session. Yep. So we would actually start the talk now. So Alistair, over to you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Alistair Wallace, and yeah, I heard Louis' introduction, but I didn't hear the earlier introduction. As I hope you can all see me. As I think I was let in kind of late to the meeting, so I'm sorry. I was in the
no worries, Dr.
So
because
let me share
the earlier
share
session.
my screen. Let me share my screen.
But Dr. Alistair, no worries, because the earlier session will be the sharing from the agent themselves. So yeah, so we are actually meant to join on time at 2 p.m. So yeah, we are actually on time. No worries.
Okay, no worries. So I've opened up my slides. Can you see my slides?
Yep, I can see from my side.
Is my signal good? Lewis is breaking up quite a lot. Can anyone else hear me? Okay. Is my internet okay?
I can hear you clearly. I mean, from my side. I'm not sure why my my screen is breaking.
Okay.
But I can hear you clearly from my side.
That's
no
good.
problem.
All right, great. So if you could mute Lewis, and if everyone else who's here could mute to help with doing this clearly. So welcome everyone. My plan is actually to talk more than just actuarial science, because I've given my title as Actuarial and Data Science in 2021. So as Lewis has mentioned, I'm from the School of Mathematical and Computer Sciences at Heriot-Watt University, Malaysia. And so we have current degrees in actuarial science and statistical data science, and we have a new degree in computing science that we'll be launching, aiming to launch this September. So I'm going to talk a little bit about each of these degrees. Lewis mentioned about translation. So I can speak a little bit of Mandarin, but very, very little. So I think I will.
Great to hear that. Yeah.
I will just speak speaking in English today. My Mandarin is actually very rusty. I've not been practicing it much recently with the lockdown. So,
but Dr. Alistair, most of the students here will be SPM students, so they are okay with English. Just that maybe during the Q&A sessions, if they actually ask any questions in Mandarin, I will assist to translate to you.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. So this is me. I'm Alistair Wallace, and I'm the head of maths and computer science at Heriot-Watt University, Malaysia. We have 3 campuses. We have campuses in Edinburgh, in the UK, in Dubai, in UAE, and then Putrajaya in Malaysia, obviously. And I've been in Putrajaya for the past 7 years, or working here. So I arrived in Malaysia when our degree was first launched in actuarial science. And so I was 2014, and we launched our statistical data science degree in 2018. So I've been here since before then. Just before I begin talking about our degrees, so at the Edinburgh camp, it's possible to transfer between campuses at any point during the degrees. The actuarial science is offered in Malaysia and in the UK. Statistical data science is offered in the UK and in Dubai and in Malaysia. And computing science, the new degree I'm going to talk about, students will be able to transfer to the Edinburgh campus in the UK. So just to let you know that you can actually move between campuses. And in particular for the actuarial science and statistical data science degree, because the programs are the same in each campus, you can move for 1 semester. There's no issue about credit transfer or anything like that. It's one university, at these three campuses. It's the same university, and we have two smaller campuses, but these are the three main campuses for a wide variety of degrees. So it's the same education. So let me say something about actuarial science. So a lot of people ask me, what is an actuary? So on the left, I have a bunch of different occupations. So I have, manager, accountant, architect, and so on. And on the right are maybe a key word one might associate with each of these roles. So for example, manager, there would be strategy, an accountant, balance sheet's important, an architect, design is important, and so on. Computer scientist, I'll come to later, programming is important. And of course, psychologists study behavior. But one might ask, what word could we really associate with actuaries? So maybe to try and make this a bit interactive, I cannot see the chat at the moment, but would anyone like to shout out a word they associate with actuaries?
Yeah, is there anyone? I mean, can just share in the chat group if I can see anything here. Yeah, anyone want to share anything? Don't be shy.
Hey, Lewis, you broke up there, but
oh, is it? Okay, then
I hope they can hear me. Yeah.
Yeah, is there anyone
someone
is anyone wanted to share anything?
Have a look at the chat. Yeah, they have shared, Lewis. Let me so I will read out the things. Perhaps you can mute, Lewis. Thanks. So Kinky Tan has said calculate. Audrey has said research. So maybe I can kind of respond to them. So calculating is a big thing, and I'll come to that. So we need to actuaries do a lot of calculations in insurance, and they also have to do some research of various things and be up to date with what's going on in the present. And I don't want to say too much just because I want to not go on too long in my talk, but many actuaries have been looking at the changes in their work due to the COVID-19 pandemic over the past year or so. So both of those are important to actuaries, and I can say a bit more about each of these things later. And in fact, the IFOA, one of the bodies I'm going to mention, they have an Actuarial Research Council, and they provide research funding to research things relating to actuarial science, so that professional body. But I guess the word I would use as the key word would be risk. So actuaries are experts in risk management. So risk is really the key thing that an actuary needs to concern themselves with. So an actuary, let me just give a kind of simple definition or what one might describe. So what I mean by risk is important. So an actuary is a trained professional who evaluates financial risks and designs ways to reduce the impact of the uncertainty of future events. So in other words, we have some future events and there is some uncertainty about whether such an event may occur. So let's take examples, insurance. So car insurance, you don't know if you're going to have an accident in the future. So that's an event that may happen to someone with car insurance. So if they have an accident, then they may need to claim on their car insurance. And because fixing a car could be expensive, insurance means that the person is able to pay for things that they may not be able to pay for if they just had to pay the whole cost in one go. So the idea of insurance is it reduces the impact of this kind of uncertain future event. And what an actuary does is they have to work out, well, what's the probability of such an event occurring? and what is the cost associated with it. So they evaluate these financial risks, and then they design ways to reduce the impact. So an example would be car insurance. An actuary would be working on a scheme, which means customers pay a small amount of money for their insurance, and then if they have an accident, that insurance can then cover the cost of the accident. So this is the idea of an actuary. So it's a kind of beneficial thing for society, having someone who can use mathematics and calculate, as the person suggested earlier, ways of helping people in terms of managing financial risks. So in terms of what does an actuary do, so an actuary will use probability theory to calculate the likelihood of an event, as I said, and then the cost associated with that event. So in other words, risk is an event plus a cost, roughly speaking. So an actuary mathematically calculates the risk. But they also need to understand how businesses respond to economic changes and the behavior of people. And so economic changes could be things like interest rates, inflation, and also the impact of government regulation. So being an actuary is a profession. And as part of that, actuaries are generally members of professional bodies. And I'll say something briefly about that later. And quite a number of actuaries actually work in government bodies. So for example, Bank Negara in Malaysia. So the job scope of an actuary, there are a few different things involved. So there is pricing of life insurance, health insurance, mortgage, car insurance, all these different types of insurance. And what I mean by pricing is calculating the premium. So an actuary has to work out how much should someone pay for their insurance in order to cover the risks associated with that. So for example, if you have life insurance, you don't know when someone is going to die. So you have to work out what's the probability they die in 10 years' time? What's the probability they die in 11 years' time? What's the probability they die in 12 years' time? And so on. Then you would say, well, how much are we going to pay them or pay their family if they die? And then if you multiply by that probability and you sum over all possible times when they may die, then that will allow you to work out the cost of the life insurance product. So in other words, you're looking at how much you have to pay out and the probability of paying it at different times. And it may be that the amount you pay out is different depending on whether it's 10 years time or 20 years time. And even if it's the same amount, it will be worth different amounts. So I'll mention this in a second, but 10,000 ringgits today is not the same thing as 10,000 ringgits in 10 years time. Another thing that actuaries do is, apart from these things in insurance of calculating the premium, they also do claim and loss reserving. So actuaries will will make sure that there's enough money in, let's say, an insurance company, how much money they have in reserves so they can pay everyone who is owed money for claims. So for example, if there are 100 people have car accidents, the insurance company needs to be able to pay all of those 100 people. So actuaries make sure that there is enough money in the bank to pay those people. Another insurance-related thing is reinsurance. So reinsurance is basically insurance for insurance companies. So if you have reinsurance companies are global, and if there is a disaster, for example, flooding in, let's say, Malaysia, then the flooding in Malaysia will cause obviously a lot of people at the same time to claim on their home insurance, because it might not just affect one home, but it might affect lots of houses. So then the reinsurance company will help to pay the insurance company through the insurance company for that risk, so that that insurance is covered. And then the reinsurance company will then pay the money for another natural disaster in a different company in a different month. So say there are forest fires in Australia in a different month. And so the idea is you spread this large concentration of risk across many countries. I've talked about insurance. Another area is pensions. So actuaries work out how much money should be paid in if you want to have a certain amount of money paid in a pension, or deciding what the suitable contributions as a percentage in order to get a certain payout. So in terms of even non-private systems like EPF, actuaries are involved in deciding what the particular contributions to EPF would mean for people in the future. There is also business insurance. I've talked about insurance, I've talked about pensions. Another big area that actuaries work in is investment. So actuaries look at, there are a few different ways that actuaries work in investment, but one of which is in terms of pricing certain financial products that are bought and sold in stock exchanges, such as Bursa Malaysia. So if the certain products, like such as what these products I mean, are things whose value depends on the price of an underlying asset, such as a share or gold, or let's say rubber or palm oil or crude oil. So certain things that are commodities in Malaysia, and also shares. You have certain financial products called options and futures, which are bought and sold on Bursa Malaysia, and actuaries are involved in the pricing of these. And another thing, just a final one, so there's value of merger and acquisition, and then developing regulations and legislation. So basically, actuaries work anywhere where there's a need to manage risk. I mentioned the time value of money, and I'm not going to say too much in this talk just because of time on implications of COVID-19, but I thought I would just say something just to kind of keep it relevant. So one thing is 10,000 ringgits today, I said, is not the same as 10,000 ringgits in 10 years' time. So I said that earlier. So there are certain things you may have learned about in school, like in SPM, if you're currently doing SPM, that called inflation or interest rates, which affect the value of money. And what this basically means is, so inflation means that the cost of an item, whether it's a roti canai or nasi lemak, it will be different today compared to 3 years' time. The price will be different. This is due to something called inflation. On the other hand, interest rates, these relate to the amount of money, the amount of interest you would have to pay on a loan. So if you borrow money, then you have to pay some money to the bank for the privilege of borrowing money. And there are certain government stated interest rates which affect the amount that the bank will charge you. So for these reasons, having 10,000 ringgits today is not the same as 10,000 in 10 years' time. So if you have a product that pays out money in the future, such as life insurance or pensions, then an actuary has to say, well, if I pay out 10,000 ringgits in 10 years' time, that is a different cost today compared to if I pay it in 11 years' time, or 12 years' time, or 13 years' time. So this is important. And the point is that economic changes affect these actuarial valuations. The amount of money to charge someone for insurance will be affected by inflation and interest rates. And these kinds of things are actually affected by things like COVID-19. So the current pandemic is affecting the ability for businesses to take out loans. The current pandemic is affecting the price of goods. For example, there are certain products which it's harder to get hold of because of the various lockdowns in different countries and because of travel restrictions. So these things are affecting inflation and interest rates, and that means that the price of insurance is indirectly affected by these changes. Another thing that's obviously affected by COVID-19 is in fact life expectancy and the probability of someone dying. And one thing that this will affect is things like life insurance and also in pension policies. I actually teach about mortality theory. So it's a nice cheerful topic. I teach the students for a whole semester on how to predict how long they will live. So it's a nice happy discussion where I can tell them what the probability is of me dying during each lecture I give to my students. And relating to COVID-19, during this period, there are more deaths than there would normally be. So this is affecting the price of insurance products. And in addition to that, the fact that people have underlying health conditions and COVID-19 can make these worse is something called comorbidity. So that's underlying health conditions. And so this is also affecting future life expectancy. So even if someone has COVID-19 and they recover, they may still have an affected future life expectancy. So I mentioned that being an actuary is a profession. So there are many professional bodies, but there's one based in Malaysia, which is the Actuarial Society of Malaysia, ASM, but they do not award any qualifications. So if you want to become a member of each of these societies, you first join up, and then after you've done a certain amount of exams, you become an associate, and then you do some more exams and some more work experience, you can become a fellow. And if you want to become an associate of the Actuarial Society in Malaysia, you first have to become an associate with one of these other bodies. And if you want to become a fellow of ASM, you have to first become a fellow of one of these other bodies. So the two largest bodies are the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries in the UK and the Society of Actuaries in the US. And Heriot-Watt University is recognized by both bodies. So we are fully accredited by the IFOA, and I'll explain what that means. And the SOA doesn't do accreditation, but we are recognized as providing an education that would lead towards providing all the core information of an actuarial degree. But the SOA does not provide exemptions for any university in Malaysia, but we have the highest recognition level from the SOA. So I will talk more about the IFOA because they actually give what's called exemptions. So essentially, if you in IFOA to become a fully qualified actuary, you need to take 13 exams with that body, 10 to become an associate, and then 3 more to become a fellow. But with our degree, you can be exempted from taking the first 6. So normally, the exams can be taken previously in the British Council in either KL or Penang, but now they're online because of the pandemic. Those exams are every April and September. But if you do our degree, it means you do not need to take all of those exams. So you only need to do 7 of these 13 exams to become a fellow. So let me say something about the program structure. So year 1 is quite general. So in SPM, you would have been taking maths and probably add math as well. So in year 1, we will cover things you may have seen before, like calculus and algebra and probability and statistics. And then you'll also do some kind of introduction to actuarial and financial maths over 2 semesters. You'll also do some basic programming, because computer programming is useful for actuaries, and you will study an introduction to accounting. And then in year 2, you then do more specialist courses. So you do a couple of courses in life insurance, you do some more statistics and probability theory, you learn about the survival models I talked about, and you do some courses, portfolio theory and derivative markets, about things that you buy and sell in Bursa Malaysia. And then the final year, you do some more courses relating to maths and statistics and insurance. We have an active student society. Under normal circumstances, we do visits to companies. We continue to do these virtually. For our program, we of course accept students through our own foundation program at Heriot-Watt, and the requirement would be ABBC with an A in maths, but we also accept STPM, A-level, UEC, and other qualifications. And the intake is September every year. So let me now talk about data science. So what is data science? So basically, data science is about insights into data. So it's really about the kind of the analysis of data, but with more computer technology than traditional statistics. So the idea here is that it's a combination of mathematics and statistics and also computer science. And broadly speaking, we can divide it into two main areas. You could be doing something to do with data analysis, where what you want to do is you model data, and then you try and understand it. And then once you understand it, you can make future predictions. So for example, I could come up with a mathematical model of life expectancy, that I understand things that affect life expectancy. So I can say, well, if someone smokes, it causes this effect on their life expectancy. I come up with a mathematical model, and that would help me predict things in the future, and I have some understanding of what's going on. Another thing in data science would be data mining and machine learning. So the idea here is you're actually trying to learn from data without necessarily understanding what is going on. But the idea is to actually make predictions or come to decisions. So let me give you a story. When about 10, 15 years ago, when I was a student, I used to love buying books on Amazon. I bought a lot of books. I read a lot of books on lots of different things. I would read books on ancient languages, on philosophy, lots of different things. And there was one day I walked into a bookstore, I bought a book, I went home, turned on my computer, and saw in my email an email saying, would you be interested to buy this book? And that was from Amazon. It was an automatic email, but just based on my past purchase history, they thought I might like to buy that book. And I literally bought it like an hour earlier from a physical bookshop. And the reason that Amazon had made that recommendation is based on what I'd been buying before. And they'd obviously learned about me. But there's no human that knows anything. It's just the computer has learned something. So this is the idea of machine learning. They learn from past experience and make recommendations or decisions or predictions, but you might not actually know why the decision has been made. You might not know why it suggested that book. And that was a long time ago. So it's amazing what can be done now. So Facebook will target ads based on the things you buy. And this is, you'll find that some of the advertising on Facebook is very relevant to you. Political advertising and things like that, it will look at who your friends are, it will look at how old you are, It'll look at your private messages. It'll look at your posts, your photos, everything in Facebook. And that will then make the advertising based on all of these things. The adverts will also be based on your past search history. So if you've been looking at rings, for example, then you'll get adverts regarding buying jewelry. And you know, I sent one message about buying selling a bicycle. This was a long time ago. I started getting lots of adverts about bicycles. These things. So Facebook learns a lot. So data science applied all sorts of places, and including in COVID-19 modeling. One of my colleagues at Heriot-Watt is doing the modeling of COVID-19 in Malaysia, and his work on looking at the spread of COVID-19 is influencing government policy on whether to have increased lockdowns or whether to have shorter lockdowns, when to open up, and so on. So this would be one application of data science. All these things about drug trials, which vaccine is more effective, that also relates to data science. But it's also used in things like artificial intelligence. So if you have a robot, in order to decide what to do, it needs data. And to know what to do with data, it needs maths and statistics. So this is how data science is the backbone of artificial intelligence and robotics. And it's even being used in insurance for some areas that actuaries used to do. But don't worry, actuaries are still important. So most jobs of actuaries are still there. So it's not fully replaced. But there are many different areas where data science is used. Another one one might mention is fraud detection. So my bank account, my bank card was used in Malaysia before I even came here. Someone had taken my details when I'd used my card in Serbia, in Europe, and then scanned my details, and then the money was taken out of accounts in the US, in Florida, and also in Klang, in Malaysia. And obviously I cannot be in 3 continents at the same time. And so my bank called me and said, this is very suspicious. How are you taking money out from 3 different continents, not just 3 different countries, but 3 different continents? And I said, yes, it's not me. And they returned all the money. And that was quite a number of years ago. But that's another example. So our degree is similar to an actuarial science degree, but with more statistics and data science, and a bit more programming. And the entry requirements and fees are the same. Year 1 is the same. You also have a database management course you can do as an option instead of accounting. And then year 2, you do more of the maths and statistics. And again, in year 3, and also you have a dissertation in the final year. In terms of options and electives, you can actually do several of the courses relating to investment and finance if you want to apply it there. And we'll probably have some further computing related options as well. We have a number of scholarships. If you're doing SPM now, this is not so relevant, but as this is the final year of these scholarships, although we might have more scholarships in the future, but we have 9 scholarships for this program, and they're also available for the computing science degree as well, for those joining in September. So moving on to computing. Computing is really everywhere. Many of you may have smartphones or laptops, and you can see there are so many different things where computers come into our lives. And you can see all these, here some pictures of some robots dancing, and who knows, maybe robots will become a thing of the future. And you will know from your interactions, I mentioned Amazon, it's a huge company, the world's richest man, or recently the world's richest man worked for Amazon. Microsoft, Bill Gates used to be the richest man in the world. And these 8 companies, something like 20% of all activities that a human does will involve these companies. So you imagine 20% of things that you do involve one of these 8 companies, whether you're on a computer using Microsoft, whether you're on your phone, writing on Facebook or Instagram or WhatsApp, which are all owned by Facebook, whether you search something in Google, you can imagine that a huge amount of what you do involves the product of one of these companies, whether it's Apple or Facebook or Microsoft. Of course, there are now companies that have become big, like TikTok and Zoom this year, and now Tesla is very famous, and Elon Musk is one of the richest men in the world now. At Heriot-Watt University in the UK, we're one of the leading centers for research in robotics, and we have these kind of robots that we design. How do they interact with humans? We have the so-called chatterbot that learns how to communicate with humans. We do research into Amazon's Alexa product that some of you may have come across before. So really, computing comes everywhere. So it might be something, if you're interested in computers and technology, you want to build things like a mobile app. It's a kind of degree you might do if you just like figuring out how things work and how they can be done differently. And if you're curious, then maybe computer science or one of the other degrees I mentioned might be right for you. So there's really a lot of different areas where graduates in this area can do, whether it's working in software engineering, mobile development, or all sorts of different areas within IT. So our degree in Malaysia is a 3-year program. Year 1, you would learn a lot about the computing and mathematics foundations, but there's less mathematics than the other degrees and more programming, more of the foundations of computing. And then in 2nd year, you would learn like these core things, like how do you do data communications and networking? How do operating systems work? How does the hardware of a computer link with the software, what you type into the computer? And you also do courses in software engineering and professional development, where you do a group project, which will involve students from Edinburgh and Dubai as well. And you do 2 courses in the foundations of computing. So this is one of the things that's unique at Heriot-Watt University, is we cover a lot of the mathematical foundations of computing. So if you're interested in the mathematical foundations of computing, this is something that's a bit different from other degrees in computer science in Malaysia. We also have a number of kind of more specialist courses, especially in the final year, in terms of artificial intelligence, computer network security, and you have to do a final year project, and you have to take some one of these options. We will not be offering all of these options, but you will have to take 3 of these options, and it will depend on our staffing expertise at the time. There will be something to do with data mining, machine learning, AI, or computer games programming. That is our plan. You also, the computing science degree, unlike the actuarial sciences for data science, there's a compulsory internship. So the internship would be between year 2 and 3 during the summer term, and it's a minimum of 3 months. So entry requirements, similar to the other 2, slightly lower, but the key thing is you must have mathematics, but you don't need computing. But if you're doing, let's say, STQM, it would be 3 Bs, with our own foundation program, a B in maths. So that ends my talk. I wanted to not talk too long, so there would be time for questions as well. So thank you, and let me stop sharing. So are there any questions from anyone? You can type in the chat.
Yeah, I think there are 2 questions at the in the chat.
I don't see any questions. I saw the messages calculate and research from my.
Okay, no problem. Perhaps I can just read out the questions. Okay, so the first question from one of the students, how many papers examinations is there for actuarial science? Is there any paper examinations for actuarial science?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, there are six exemptions from our degree. So this is the maximum number from any actuarial degree. This is with the IFOA, the UK body. The US body does not award exemptions for any universities, but they recognize universities that cover the content, and our degree covers the content. So we're recognized with a maximum recognition in Malaysia.
Okay, I hope it's clear. The answer is clear for the student that actually asked this question. But if you need more clarification, you can just raise up, or you can just speak up as well. Okay. So the second question will be, what is the, if you were to actually put into a few points, what is the difference from our Heriot-Watt Actuarial Science and Data Science compared to other universities?
So our degree was the first in Malaysia to be fully accredited by the IFOA. We have a high mathematics component, which means, and we have high entry requirements, and our team are experts in the various areas of statistics and actuarial science, which means that one difference is that we have a high number of students will graduate with the full set of 6 exemptions. So we have a high number every year who end up with the full set of 6 exemptions. Our degree, because we work with colleagues in the UK and Dubai, our videos, like in this online period, are videos which are being used across all campuses. So when I teach for students in the UK as well, and my UK colleagues will teach for Malaysia campus. So we do online videos and we share the workload. So it's one of the interesting things. So for example, one course, I recorded half the videos. My colleague in UK recorded the other half of the videos of pre-recorded of lectures. So you really get a wide experience of different people teaching you. So that's another difference. Our data science degree contains a lot more mathematics and statistics than any other data science degree in Malaysia. So if you particularly like maths and statistics, this could be a degree that you find interesting. I now see some questions in the chat. So I guess the ones you mentioned earlier were private messages to you, but I can see ones that are to everyone. So there's one here. Can you explain about the scholarship? So the Data Future Scholarship is for people entering the degree, so either after STPM or A-level or foundation. And there are 3 full scholarships, so 100% of tuition fees for the full 3 years, and 6 scholarships worth 50% of tuition fees. And these are for the computing science and the statistical data science degree. We have other scholarships you can read about on our website.
Yep, and I think there's one question, but it's actually separated into a few parts. I think there are four parts of this session, this question, and it's in Mandarin. Perhaps I can just translate for you. Okay. Do we actually accept Cambridge English like FCE or CAE, or we only accept IELTS?
We accept a variety of different English qualifications. So you'll find the full list on our website.
In terms of the IELTS, for actuarial science, we need 6.5, correct?
6.0.
Okay.
We used to be 6.5, it's 6.0 now.
Okay.
For all 3 of these degrees.
And the second part would be, do we have any student exchange program, for example, the first year in Malaysia and then the second year that we can actually transfer to UK?
Yes. Yeah, so I tried to explain this a bit earlier, but that was at the start of my talk. So you can do 1 semester, 1 year, 2 years in the UK, and there's no issue. It's not really an exchange. because it doesn't matter how many go each direction. So any number of students, if you want, you can go to the UK. The fees are slightly different. So there's a 20% discount on the UK international student fees. So it's slightly different fees, but you have a discount on the UK fees if you are coming from the Malaysia campus. So you can do 1 year in Malaysia, 2 years UK, 1 year Malaysia, 1 year UK, 1 year Malaysia. So these are completely possible. You can even do just one semester. So because the degrees are identical for actuarial science and statistical data science, there's no such thing as like credit transfer or anything like that. It's just the same degree. We have the same exams. So 9 o'clock in Malaysia, 4 or 5 p.m. Sorry, 4 or 5 p.m. in Malaysia, 9 a.m. in the UK. So it's the same exams. So it's the same curriculum.
Yep, great. And is there any specific subjects that the students need to take in the foundation? For example, how many credits they need to fulfill? For example, do they need to fulfill the @max requirement in order for them to go into foundation and then proceed to the computer science degree?
So I think we can accept students into foundation who don't have @maths, but we will require a good maths background, whichever way you come in. So if you did our foundation, we would need A in mathematics in the foundation courses. If you did STPM, we'd need for computing, we need B in mathematics from foundation. We need B from STPM and so on. And then for the other 2 degrees, we need an A from these.
And we do accept, do we accept any foundation from any universities?
It would depend on the curriculum. So different universities cover different things in foundation. So some universities we cannot accept because they don't cover enough maths. So some universities, their foundation covers less maths than say A-level or STPM. So unfortunately, we cannot accept all foundation.
So yeah, so it will pretty much depends on the course syllabus from that particular university. Am I right? I mean,
yes.
To do
so
the assessment.
I would suggest if you go to another university, there's definitely no guarantee that you can join us after foundation because there are differences in foundations for different universities.
And I do have the last, I believe it's the last question here. May I know usually how long does it take to become a fully qualified actuary?
So we have a 3-year degree here. If let's say you got the full 6 exemptions, then that would be 7 papers remaining. You need at least 4 years work experience, and you can do the other 7 exams while working. So the minimum time, including the 3-year degree, would be 7 years. Some take longer. Some only become an associate and decide after associate they don't become a fellow. So in order to do certain jobs in Malaysia, you need to be a fellow. So every insurance company has at least 1 fellow. Normally they have, for most insurance companies, they have many, but legally, they have to have at least 1, a so-called appointed actuary or chief actuary. And to sign off certain forms, you need to be a fellow. But other jobs, many other jobs, you do not need to be a fellow. You can do it as an associate. So a lot of people will stop after they become an associate and not pursue becoming a fellow. So their job, so that's why there's kind of 2 levels of the qualification. And just to add, I didn't mention this in my presentation to keep things brief, but our UK campus, we actually have a master's program where you can get another 5 papers. So if you did the 1-year master's in the UK in actuarial management, then you would only have 2 more remaining because you get 6 from undergraduate, 5 from masters, and 2 more to become a fellow.
So which means students, if they further their studies, I mean, masters in UK, they might not need to go through these 7 years. I mean, including the
they would still
degree.
They
would still need 7 years, right?
Yeah, because they would need at least 4 years work experience.
Okay.
As well.
Hope this is clear to Brittany. Yep. So I think this is the last question. Is there any more questions from Liu? Is there any more questions from student?
I think that's it from student. Yeah. So I think that's the end. And once again, thank you, Dr. Alistar, and also thanks to 𝗀𝗧𝘂𝗱𝘆 so for giving such a detailed presentation and also a clear explanation. Yeah. So I believe that our students have already gained some understanding and experience throughout, like regarding on actuarial science, computer science, and also data science. Yeah. I think that's the end for today presentation.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you
Thank you.
students for joining.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Dr. Alistar, as well for making a time to give the talk here today. Yep.
Thank you for the chance to talk to everyone today, and
No
I
problem.
hope that's been helpful for everyone. Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
whether you join Heriot-Watt or not, I wish you all the best for the future.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Liu. Should they have if the students have any more questions or anything they want to know about the applications or about the program, just arrange an appointment
Okay.
with me anytime, and then we can actually explain further to the students. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
so
Thank you
much.
very much. Thank you. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye. See you.